to Wemby. Wemby tries a three, puts it up, off the mark. Anunoby the rebound. It's over. It's over. Knicks fans, this is not a dream. Your long, long wait has ended. Go ahead and cry. After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into the newest edition of Knicks for Clicks. Bryce Gelman here with Rami, Lavi. Just riding this high of being a champion. It's very weird, Rami. Like, have you ever felt like this in your life before?
Only the Jets are trying to tear me down. But we just got Adam Schefter just tweeted out.
You got 3 more months. Don't worry about these reports. The Geno Smith thing. What did Schefter just report?
Well, Schefter just retweeted Jets QB Geno Smith is being investigated for an incident in which a woman accused him. Nothing new, but now it's being investigated as battery. So lovely.
Unreal. All right. Well, that's great. Honestly, if I were you, I'd ignore those reports. Just focus on what really matters. And that's the Knicks re-signed Mo Diawara. The Knicks have the draft tonight. They've got the 24th selection. They've got a couple of really good second-round picks. Thanks, Wizards. But we're going to start with this. Giannis Antetokounmpo last night, it was reported that he was traded to the Miami Heat. The Boston Celtics were the favorites up until the end. You got the report from Chris Haynes essentially saying that the Celtics have now included Jaylen Brown in potential deal. Then, of course, he gets traded to the Heat. We're going to get into that and what it means for the Celtics. The Knicks, technically one of the 2 biggest rivals. But, Rami, your initial reaction to Giannis getting traded to the Heat?
From a Knicks perspective, I'll tell you right now, I love it. This is great. The Bucks got worse. I don't think the Heat got much better, honestly. And that's not a knock on Giannis. If there's any athlete I wouldn't want to bet against, it's Giannis, because I do believe that he has the mental makeup. We saw him overcome the issues he had at the free throw line, and basically, when it mattered most, turn into one of the best free throw shooters ever. Was basically perfect after teams were opposing arenas were counting him down from 10. Like, he had a full switch and just turned it on. A guy who could never shoot free throws that well, and then all of a sudden was a knockdown free throw shooter in the finals when it mattered most. So, like, I think his mental makeup is great, but I just don't like the guy. Just like Damian Lillard, he tried to play both sides. Oh, I'm the good guy. I'm not the guy who's asking out. I'm not the guy who's asking for a trade. I want to be here. I want to build something. Like, no, you don't. Just come out and be the regular NBA superstar scum that most of them are and say you want to be traded to a better situation. Don't try and sugarcoat it and make us feel bad for you. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I lost some respect for him with that. And he is now a 30-something-year-old superstar whose entire game is getting to the rim and athleticism and strength and speed. And he's coming off of multiple Achilles injuries, or not Achilles yet, but multiple calf strains, which you know where that can end up leading to. So I just think that you're not like what you're trading for. I hope. And if there's someone I had to bet on, like I started, Giannis gets back to form, because he's genuinely one of the best players we've seen over the last decade in the league, and maybe a top 50 player all time. You could start to look at those things, but he is not like, you're not trading for Giannis from 3 years ago. It's just not the case. And you gave up a ton. And not only did you mortgage the future, you mortgaged all of your depth and the bench and your other starting players. And when we just saw a team in the Knicks utilize their depth to win a championship. So I just, from a Miami Heat perspective, I don't love it.
Yeah, so here we go. I currently got the odds. So the Heat, their title odds went from 30-1. This is the 9th shortest. Monday morning, they were 18-1, which is the 5th shortest, which is just absurd. That, man, I can't understand. Miami is also 6-1 to win the Eastern Conference, behind only the Knicks and, of course, the Celtics, as they always are. Vegas darlings, number 1. The Knicks, as always, as Rodney Dangerfield used to say, I get no respect. That's the Knicks. So the Miami Heat, for whatever reason, people believe just got significantly better with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And of course, he is, as you said, a top player in the NBA, one of the 50, maybe even 30, 40th greatest players in NBA history. But the Heat just sold the farm. They got rid of every single player that could have turned into someone. Tyler Hero, that's a different story. He needed to go anyway. He plays no defense. that is the type of player that you're fine dealing Jaime Jaquez, all these guys. But they do get a couple of first-round picks, the Bucks, and good for them. I think that this is a trade for them that can help them build in the future. They needed to capitalize and get a haul. They got that. But the Miami Heat, on paper, they've got two players. They've got Bam Adebayo, and they have Giannis Antetokounmpo. And we just found out a few hours ago, at least I saw, and it's not, there's no pen to paper yet, and there's no guarantee, that Norman Powell, who would have been that third option, a huge scoring ball handler, primary ball handler creator, it appears that he's going to be leaving a free agency because the Heat don't have the money now to pay him. So not only did they trade all of their depth, they are going to lose their third best player because they don't have the money to pay him. So for me, I cannot fathom the idea that the Heat just automatically become these title favorites. Giannis went from being on a team that was not built well around him, a team that had no promise, a team that would barely fight for the play-in even with him in a cold environment, to now having the exact same situation in a warm environment, in a desirable city. All right, Giannis, congratulations. You're in Miami now. You've got no state income tax, but you've still got a team that does not have anything besides you. Bam Adebayo, congratulations. The second, highest scoring night in NBA history. All right, like that's it. How long is he going to milk that? But for Giannis to go from that situation to Miami, what, man? I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't even know what this offense looks like, because they were like, when the Bucks won the championship, it was a 5-out offense with Giannis in the middle. He's controlling. The lane is open for him. Everyone else can shoot. Everyone's playing off of him. You saw how important Middleton was. You saw how important the defense and having a guy in Drew Holiday was. There were so many key roles. Dante DiVincenzo. There were so many key roles on that team of guys who could play off of Giannis. And now you have Bam, who's also going to clog the lane. He's not like going to spread the floor for you, really. Like how does that work? How does that offense look? Now, I did listen to Bill Simmons a little bit on the way home today, and he was talking about how, well, now they're really leaning into the quote unquote Heat culture, which whatever the hell that is. You had Jimmy Butler ask out. You had problems with Tyler Hero. The culture there is just fantastic. Yeah. And the culture was perfect. But Heat culture was, they won a championship with because the big three decided that they didn't want to pay state income tax and wanted to be in Florida. That's the Heat culture that they built. All right, whatever. Not the point. The point is, he's like, we're going to play hard-nosed defense and get rebounds and out-tough you. Yeah, I don't know if that. Okay, cool. That might get you. I don't
know if that's the only facet of basketball, Rami.
Yeah, great. You'll get a 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, and you'll be tough in the regular season. And
dude, I don't even think they'll get 4th seed. I think they're going to be a borderline playing team. Giannis has not been healthy. Like, here's the thing: Giannis goes out with an injury. What kind of team is this? This is a lottery team.
Yes,
lottery.
100%. 100%.
Even without Bam, you lose Bam and you just have Giannis in that lineup. That's still a borderline lottery playing team.
And they're going to have to sign Giannis. You talked about the money stuff with Powell. Like, they're going to have to sign Giannis to an extension. Like, it's not like
eligible for like a 3-year, $220 million extension. Congrats. Good luck with that.
By the way, how ridiculous was the Trae Young contract? Oh my God.
I mean, listen, it's one of those situations where it's one of those.
Who was giving him that money?
Okay. It's one of those situations where you're just like forced to do it. You know what I mean? Speaking of forced to do it, I feel like, Miami is just not even worth it. I mean, listen, they got Giannis. Congratulations. That's not in our realm of the world and where we are as Knicks fans. The more important thing, other than the trade for Giannis, is the team that didn't get Giannis, and that is the Boston Celtics, a team that offered their top 5 MVP finalist in said trade, a guy that essentially carried them to the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. They attached him in a potential deal. They don't get Giannis. What the hell happens with Jaylen Brown and the Celtics right now?
Yeah, this is a real problem for Jaylen Brown and like for the Celtics. This is a guy who's emotional. It's a guy who's had issues, who's basically had at times. He said this was the best year of his career with Jason Tatum at. So he's had cryptic things. He's gone back at Stephen A. Smith on Twitch streams. Like, how is this guy going to be happy? There's no way they're keeping Jaylen Brown happy now. And you basically have to trade him. And there's only one scenario where I'm scared, because in my mind, everyone in the league knows you have to trade him now. So now the way what happens is you trade him and you get worse also because you're taking 50 cents on the dollar possibly. But there's one case scenario, and I don't know if you saw this report, that Anthony Edwards has not been happy in Minnesota basically since Karl Anthony Towns left. If they trade Jaylen Brown for Anthony Edwards, then they're a much better team. Then I'm terrified of the Boston Celtics because that looks like what that looks like with you have a real power forward and then a real guard in Tatum and Ant like together. That duo would be possibly the best in the league. But
there's, we all know the Timberwolves are never, ever making that deal.
Unless Anthony Edwards makes it clear that he's not playing for them, right? And he
or
needs
also
a trade.
Ayo Dosunmu turns out to be a terrible contract, and they're screwed with that deal for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
like that's the other
true.
thing.
So my point is with all this, my point is that I think the Celtics are basically taking a loss, and they take the biggest loss here because they now have a guy, their second to best player, who's not happy, who's not going to want to be there, and you basically forced to trade him. You're basically without getting Giannis, you still had to break up the Jays in Jaylen and Jason, and that's not a smart move because that's a duo that won a championship together. At their best, they were a 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. That's a terrible decision if you ask me.
Yeah, but like it was one of those situations, and I kind of made the comparison to the Sixers having to sign Paul George. We're in a spot where we need to change things up. As it stands, we are not talented enough to compete with the team that won a championship. And in the Paul George's case, that was the Celtics. And with the Celtics now, it's with the Knicks. There are some moves that you look at and you're not enamored with them. You're not like, oh, like this is amazing. This is going to help us win a championship. It's a situation where you look at it and you're like, well, we're shit out of luck. We got to make the move. And that's exactly how this boiled down for the Celtics. They looked at Giannis. It's like, like it's the shining city on a hill or whatever the hell it is. You know what I mean? They saw that and they're like, this player is amazing, but we're going to have to part with a guy that 2 years ago was finals MVP for a guy that does not necessarily fit our roster. If the Celtics traded for Giannis, they have to make 2 to 3, maybe even 4 corresponding moves because as it stands, Giannis Antetokounmpo cannot thrive in an environment where he's not playing alongside a stretch 5. And you know what the Celtics don't have? A stretch 5. Oh, playable stretch 5. Vucevic, I don't even know if he's a free agent or not. Either way, he's not playable. He, fell out of favor with Joe Mazzulla. Didn't play through the majority of that Sixers series. That's out of the question. But you look, I mean, I guess there's no point in even discussing this anymore. Like it was floated, the idea of like trading Derek White to the Timberwolves for Naz Reid. That's, of course, off the table. But it was one of those situations for the Celtics where, like, we got to make this move. And if they did make it, I made a TikTok yesterday. I'm like, I don't think this is going to turn out well. Like, they have to make a bunch of different moves. They're going to be back, into the second apron. If they make some of those moves, what are you going to do in terms of free agency? Like, you got to get guys to come in here that complement Giannis. And as it stood, the roster didn't. So they don't end up getting him. The Knicks don't have Giannis Antetokounmpo in their division now. He doesn't go to their second or, first biggest rivals. And now the Knicks are, sitting pretty with the Larry O'Brien trophy in their hands, watching the Celtics core implode in real time. And who the hell knows what's going to happen with Jaylen Brown now? Like what realistically is out there?
This was the worst case scenario because if you just keep the core together, that's probably the best case scenario for the Celtics. We're not interested in Giannis. We're keeping Jaylen and Jason. Jason Tatum just came off an injury. We still feel like we had a good year. We had a tough series against the Sixers where Tatum wasn't fully healthy and the Sixers just got hot. All right, perfect. We're running it back. That's probably the best scenario. The second to best case scenario would have been, okay, we trade for Giannis and our window is shorter and we have to make other corresponding moves around it. Everything you just detailed. But hey, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo and Jason Tatum, 2 of the top 5 players in the Eastern Conference, will probably be pretty good. The worst case scenario is we didn't get Giannis, and now we also pissed off our second to best player. Yep. So now we have to get rid of him, and who knows what we'll be able to get back for him at this point, because now we're behind the 8 ball on this. And by the way, and I know we're not talking so much about Milwaukee, they kind of lost out in all this too. They were like, they kind of panic traded him. They're like, we have to make the move before the draft. Like, they didn't get that much because if you get the Boston haul, at least you get a player who's like a superstar player. We just saw be the best player on a team for a full season on a team that was the 2 seed, right?
But they were only offering Jaylen Brown in those 2 first-round picks. They wouldn't add Hugo Gonzalez and Baylor Shireman.
I know, but
come on.
Now you have Tyler Hero and a couple of first-round picks. Like, you don't. What did you get?
You could flip Hero. There's some teams that would be interested in a high, I guess not high efficiency, but a volume score.
Again, for what Giannis Antetokounmpo is thought of to be like, they didn't get a ton. It just doesn't feel like they got a ton for Giannis. And so I don't love it for Milwaukee. I don't love it for the Heat. And worst of all, it's probably for the Celtics, unless they just magically pretend this never happened. And, they show up with a bouquet of flowers tomorrow, and Joe Mazzulla's on a Twitch stream with Jaylen Brown talking about how lovely it's going to be next year and how nothing really matters because we're all going to be dust in 50 years anyway. Like, I don't know. I guess like that could happen still. Like, I believe that could happen, but it feels like
I don't know how you recover from this. I don't know how you recover from this.
Yeah.
It's not like some random player. The Knicks, of course, included Cat, and I'm not calling Cat a random player, but Cat was playing like the second string center on a championship team. Like,
dude,
he was not playing up to
drafted
par.
by the Celtics, been there for 10 years. He's
Dude,
played like some of the most important playoff. He was the final MVP.
Exactly. This is a different situation. Like, he's coming up the best year in his career. And again, to your credit, finals MVP 2 years earlier, top 5 MVP finalist, like first team All-NBA. I think first team All-NBA guy. I'm almost positive, but
I think he was this year.
Yeah. You've got all that. And again, he's coming off the best year in his career, and they're shopping him in deals like this. I'd be furious if I'm Jaylen Brown, because that was a sign from the Celtics that, hey, we appreciate everything you just did, but Jason Tatum's our guy and not you. And for a guy that has an ego, and listen, he should have an ego. He's one of the top 20 players in the NBA. I don't know if this is a bridge that you could build back. I don't know if this is a relationship that you can repair now.
And then the question becomes, like, how much can you get in a trade package for him when everyone knows that you can't repair that relationship? That's the problem. So it goes beyond, okay, so now we have to dump him. What are we dumping him for? Like, how can we get anything of value back for him? Like, maybe they can flip him to Brooklyn for Julius Randle. Oh, that'd be awesome. But
dude, I forgot about that one.
I wrote that down in my notes. I couldn't even get that out. I was just like, it's so perfect because 7 years ago the Knicks were being clowned because they lost out on Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and ended up with Julius Randle. Now 7 years later, the Brooklyn Nets, with no future and no hope, have Julius Randle, and they're watching the Knicks celebrate a championship. It is just poetic. It's perfect. It's beautiful. And by the way, I've watched, because I worked a lot of the games. You know what? I love the job that I have working the mornings. Like, I grew up listening to Boomer and Carton. This is like a dream show to be working on, all that. I almost wish I had one more year of producing Nets games, because getting to produce Julius Randle and Michael Porter Jr. together and them having to share the ball, and getting to hear Tim Capstraw try and nicely put what he actually wants to say about those guys, and then get to hear what he actually thinks, during the commercial.
It's one of your craziest takes that you've ever had in this podcast.
It might be my craziest take.
You'd rather.
I obviously don't mean it. I love my job, but
you just said you'd rather be producing Nets games than working Boomer and Gio. Let's see how that goes over with people who listen to this podcast.
Honestly, maybe I'll just produce Nets games and do Boomer and Gio, because if like once a week, just let me produce a Nets game, because it's going to be so much fun to watch. Watching Michael Porter Jr. alone was fun. Him just chuck up every shot ever known to man. Now having to watch him and Julius Randle have to coexist in an offense, like, dude, you better let security be on guard. Like, those two guys are going to be at each other's throats by November. It's going to be awesome.
It's a frustrating. If I'm Julius Randle, it's bittersweet, because one, you get to move back to New York. You felt so comfortable here. You went to Minnesota out of the blue. No one expected that to happen when it did. A couple of days before training camp, he's getting ready to go to training camp, getting ready for all that stuff to start ramping up for another season with the Knicks with such high expectations. And then instead he's packing his bags to Minnesota a couple of days later. So it's good for him that he gets to come back, but now he's a part of the biggest laughing stock in the NBA, one of the top 5, top 10 biggest laughing stocks in all of sports. But here's my thing for Julius, and one reason why I'm not totally like really upset for him is that there's no pressure anymore. No one's going to hate on you if you play like shit because you're not going to be playing for anything.
Well, this is the what the Nets are trying to do, and you got to feel for the Nets because this is what you got to do sometimes. You have to recognize that sometimes in life you have to follow in Big Brother's footsteps. And you looked at what happened here and you said, hey, look, it didn't work for us. We didn't get the superstars the way we wanted to. But if we can stockpile a bunch of young assets and then get Julius Randle with a hard-nosed coach, like for the Knicks, it was Tom Thibodeau. For the Nets, it's Jordy Fernandez. We have a hard-nosed coach. I love Jordy, by the way. Watching these games, Jordy's awesome. Like, Jordy will be a great coach in this league one day. But sometimes you have to follow in Big Brother's footsteps and realize they led the path to championship. It started with building the foundation with Julius Randle and a hard-nosed coach. They're doing the same thing. And maybe in 5 years from now, you guys will be lucky enough to be where the Knicks, Big Brother, are today.
Maybe 20. Who knows?
Maybe.
But yeah. All right. So last piece of news we gotta touch on. Mo Diawara intends to re-sign with the New York Knicks. I'm not 100% sure about the years. I don't know if you saw. I haven't seen. I don't know if it's been reported. It's definitely a multi-year deal, 8-figure deal. So I'd say in the $10 to $14 million range. It's got to be at least. I would guess
similar to the Deuce deal, like 3 for 11.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like after all that we saw from Mo Diawara, everyone had concerns over losing him, and I know that the Knicks won a championship, and it ended up working out. But if there's any truth to the idea that they wanted to hide him and didn't play him because they specifically wanted other teams to look away and not re-sign him because they were stupid to not give him a fully guaranteed deal after the season, I mean, like, I refuse to believe that's a possibility.
I think that's a Twitter thing. I think, like, you really think, dude, that hedge IQ for 3 not posting highlights was the reason that the Knicks were able to retain him? Like,
and they even still posted highlights because it's almost impossible not to. The 6'9" guy who's got length, he's got the ability to shoot from the 3-point line. That's the exact type of guy the Knicks are going to need going forward with whatever they plan on doing at the second apron, because you hear James Dolan say they're not going to go into the second apron. They're not going to go above it. I mean, I'm not buying that.
I talked to Ian Begley about this. I think he meant not 3 out of the 5
years. He doesn't want the penalties. Yes.
Which is when the penalties really ramp up. I think this year they'll be in the second apron.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, you gotta prioritize bringing back Mitchell Robinson. You gotta prioritize bringing back Landry Shamet, Jose Alvarado.
Do you think they have to? I don't think they have to prioritize bringing back Mitch.
They do.
I think it's a thank you for your service. We appreciate you. He didn't play great after the Philly series.
He didn't, but like, that's the type of guy that is such an X factor, and he is so much more valuable to you than other teams. Like, he brings you intangibles that you are unable to get anywhere else. Teams are unwilling to pay him big money because he can't shoot free throws to save his life. That is the type of player, as a long-term Knick, that you want to bring back because he is a culture setter. He's the type of guy that has been there.
But I could also see him getting $12 million a year in Sacramento.
Listen, if it becomes unfeasible and the Knicks just, it doesn't make sense for them, it's like, hasta la vista, safe travels. I'm totally fine with that. But if the Knicks are the team that values him the most and other teams look at him and they're like, like, we're so far away from competing, he's not the type of piece that we need to acquire. Because he's not a championship piece per se on a team that's looking to build a championship team, then fine, pay him. I want to see him paid. If there's not interest out there, they need to pay him, because look at this free agent market. Look at the centers on the open market. Look at where they are in terms of salary. If they go into the second apron, which I don't know if it's possible, if they don't re-sign Mitch, they're going to re-sign Shamet, hopefully re-sign Alvarado. They are very limited in the options they
I still think there's a chance that Alvarado loved his time so much he opts in.
No,
which would be the best case scenario.
That got extended 4 days. It was supposed to be, the deadline was yesterday for him to either opt in or opt out. He's got until the 26th now. The Knicks could evaluate their options, and he can evaluate his options after the draft, see what they got. As I mentioned before, the Knicks have the 24th overall selection in tonight's
Do you
draft.
believe? I don't know the draft well enough at all. I'm just going to be honest. Do you believe in any of the rumors that they'd be looking at a guy like Zubieta for, though?
I think they might be able to get him with their second round pick, with their high second round pick, the Wizards.
But I think Brooklyn likes him at 31.
But Brooklyn's got a million picks. Who knows what the hell they're going to do with these multitude of picks.
But I've seen him as as a Nick Claxton replacement.
Here's the thing: if they really like him and they know he's going to be there at 30 or 29, they trade down from 24. I think in this draft, though, with how deep it is, you stay at 24 and you take a guy. You take a back. One of these guys could be a backup center for this team, and
that changes the Mitchell Robinson dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, if they do that, then they're not re-signing Mitch.
And plus,
if they prioritize that.
So Huckporty's also a restricted free agent.
He's not getting paid. Come on, let's be honest.
Yeah, I just don't know.
He gave you good minutes in game 5. He had one of the best. I mean, listen, it's going to get lost. It has gotten lost in the shuffle, but his effort play to block Luke Cornett on that one, one of the
great defensive sequence.
Yeah, I mean, one of the highest effort plays you'll see. And he did that in one of the biggest game. Yeah, in one of the biggest moments in Knicks history. So is there room for improvement with Ariel Huckporty? Absolutely. Would I rather see them draft someone in one of the deepest drafts we've ever seen? Yeah. I mean, because you still have Huckporty, he's going to be a Knick next year. I just can't foresee the chance that another team swoops in and pays Ariel Huckporty. He's a Knick. It's one of the guys the Knicks are
with Alvarado is if he opts out, can you find better value for secondary ball handling than Alvarado? I still think there's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's
I
just the type of guy.
Remember, this is a guy who played himself out of the rotation for most of the beginning of the playoffs.
And then he came in and hit. I think that 3 out of all the threes and all the shots that were hit throughout that series and throughout the playoff run, that Alvarado 3 that he hit to make it 100 to 104 instead of 97 to 104 is one of the biggest
points that he had in that fourth quarter. The spin layup and the 2 threes were maybe the most important 8 points they've gotten from anyone off the bench the entire season.
And the most important points of his life. And that's the type of guy that just won a championship in his home city.
This is the best guy to have as a secondary ball handling next to Jaylen.
Of course not. But if you get the value and he decides to, sign for 3 years, $15 million, you do it. Obviously, you bring back the homegrown guy, not the homegrown guy, but the guy who played at home. Yeah. I mean, and also here's the other thing that we may be overlooking when people or anyone might, when they say, well, why would Jose Alvarado take that when he can get more money in the open market? Again, 1, he's at home. 2, they just won a championship. Do you understand the amount of endorsement deals and all these types of things that they're doing? All these guys. Landry Shamet is going and have 150, 200 people long line at Dick's. All these guys are legends now in the city of New York. And I think most of them understand, the guys, of course, who aren't under contract for the next, 5, 3, 4, 5 years, understand the value.
That girl who's from here who they just started dating recently. You know what I mean? She's not leaving for Landry Shamet.
Yeah, I mean,
I could be hey, dude, stick around.
That would be crazy if a woman, a female, was the reason why the Knicks brought back one of their most important bench pieces in a very long time. But yeah, all right. So that's basically the undefeated. We're gonna do something later this week, reacting to whatever the Knicks do in the draft. Leon Rose, he is going to be on the Roommate Show, and they've had a lot of guests, and I have been very interested. I watched the James Dolan one. I watched the Tom Thibodeau one they came out with a couple of years ago, but this might be the one that I'm most excited for because, of course, Leon Rose didn't speak to anyone for years, and now when they won the championship, he can't keep his mouth shut. So hopefully he gives us some insight as to the moves that he's made in recent, obviously in his time as Knicks president of basketball operations to lead them to their first championship in 53 years. So we may have some reactions on that.
I think the recording, though, is pre-draft, so...
Yeah, either way, I'm not, I don't think anyone's
agree.
dying to hear their draft. I just want to hear his insight as to the moves that he made and, how he worked in conjunction with James Dolan to do what he did.
Just hearing him talk, period.
Exactly. We heard him speak after they won the championship. That was in the moment. I'm like, Leon Rose is speaking. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now he speaks. Wow. I figured he'd just walk off the court and be like, nah, you're not interviewing me. I'll
And he said
celebrate with the
3
trophy
words
in
at
the
the
locker room.
parade.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we finally got some words out of Leon now that he's stamped for life in the city. So we'll get some reactions to that. But we'll definitely do another podcast this week. So stay tuned, everyone. Rami, this is fun. We've got a lot of good stuff planned for you this summer. I know it's, the Knicks won a championship. You're excited. You're still riding that high. But, this isn't it for our Knicks fandom. There's still a lot to talk about. So Rami and I will have you covered throughout the summer with all that kind of stuff. But this is fun, Rami. And we'll talk to all of you later on this week. Peace.
All right. See you, champ.